excited to be chatting with you about your film, The Life We Leave. This is I think it's going to be a super interesting conversation because this is so hyper local with the local company Return Home. And yeah, I can't wait to talk about it. But I want to start with the screenings. How did screening this film at the Seattle International Film Festival go for you?
It's been great. We had 2 sold out screenings. We got standing ovations at the first one, which was cool. I've never had that before. So yeah, it's been a great reception, and people just have been literally stopping me on the street and being like, "Hey, you want to see your film? How do I see it next?" So it's good. I'm hopefully we get to screen it in Seattle soon.
Yes. Well, congratulations on that.
Thanks.
If I'm correct, this was a film that was a recipient of one of the SIFF grants.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that moment receiving this grant and then the development with this honor.
Yeah, that was a major turning point on this project. It's you're always pushing that boulder up the hill trying to get something made, and then when you actually get money to make it, it opens up so many doors, makes so much more possible. And so that was a huge turning point where it went from here's this idea that we had all this footage, we had an assembly edit, but we didn't know how we were going to finish it. I think we even had a rough cut, but it was a very bad rough cut. But yeah, getting a cash injection like that is just it's monumental, and it really allowed us to focus for, I think, we got it. I think we were awarded the grant in July or August, and I think we actually got the money in October, and I think that we had virtually by April the next year we had a rough cut that we could really stand behind, and we were really pushing towards the finish line. So it really just expedited things. After 4 years of working on it, all of a sudden we were able to make headway. It was cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, this is such an interesting topic. Remind me of the term. It's
Terramation.
Terramation, that's what
Yeah.
it is, right? Which is, it's a foreign concept to a lot of people, including myself, before this documentary. And so coming across this story and Return Home, tell me about how you came across this and why you decided to make a film about this.
Yeah, grief makes you do crazy things. But being local, being here in Seattle, I had heard about the legalization of human composting, and I think initially I kind of shrugged it off, kind of when marijuana was first legalized here in Washington. It's just kind of this funny thing that Washington does, the first to legalize progressive things. And then my mom died in 2018, shortly after I first heard about human composting, and that was when I kind of first understood how it could be an option and how it could be something different. Because my mom would have loved it. She was an avid gardener. She loved flowers. She was always out in her yard. And she loved nature. She raised us camping and out in national forests and stuff like that. So yeah, my mom dies in 2018. 2020 rolls around. Everybody's grieving. The world shuts down. My son is born in the middle of the pandemic, and I have this full circle kind of moment, looking at my newborn son living through grief, massive grief. And I saw this article in the Seattle Times with Micah talking about how he's opening the world's first large-scale human composting facility, and I was like, this is wild. This is actually happening now. And I think it was probably my wife that encouraged me to reach out to him. Mm-hmm. And I did. And yeah, he answered the call and brought me down. We took a tour of the place. It was empty. In the first scenes of the film, you kind of see there's already some walls being built out. But the first time I was there, it was literally just an empty warehouse. So you totally had to use your imagination. This is where the straw is going to be. This is where the vessels will be. This is where the rotator is going to be, and all of the things. And it was just you just had to imagine it, and it just got in my head. And I asked him if I could come back with a camera.
Mm-hmm. This is a very sensitive subject, mm-hmm. right? I mean, grief is a tough thing to deal with, and I think that a lot of people don't willingly talk about it. And you are here just documenting it and getting that story out there. I think something that I was thinking about when I was watching the documentary is the role that you have as a filmmaker and storyteller, and how you have to kind of insert yourself into these uncomfortable places. Talk to me a little bit about that, because as an audience, we we can be the fly on the wall and not feel imposing. But as the filmmaker, I mean, how do you go about being in very sensitive spaces, being in very, private kind of situations, and, documenting and having a camera there?
Yeah. Well, we're always invited into this space, right? So, we were very careful about consent. That was like the first thing that we were always was on the top of our mind. It's like, are we here? Are we being intrusive? Are we in a place we shouldn't be? Are we seeing something we shouldn't be seeing? And so there was always a big conversation around that. But Katie and Bree, who are the funeral directors at Return Home, they would introduce us to all of these families, and they were kind of our through line that got us to connect. And they would be like, hey, there's these guys that are here making a documentary. Is it something you'd be interested in? And 98% of the time there would be a no, but for 2% of the time, people would be like, yeah, we'll have at least a conversation with them. And then like a fraction of a percent of the time, people would be like, sure, let's film. And there are a few families that we filmed with that didn't make the cut, but those spaces, and especially like Katie and Bree, when they're prepping a person for the funeral and like being in that space with them, that's like a sacred space, right? That is like a space that they are doing their job, and we wanted to be very conscious of not being in their way and just observing and being present and holding that space for them, because the work that they do is so important also. And holding that space for the families to be able to grieve, and like a lot of it is they wanted to tell their stories, right? They like the reason most of them went with us and agreed to film with us because they wanted their person to be remembered. So following their lead, how do they want to do that? How do they want to tell their story?
It's so interesting you talking about them doing their job, and that's obviously the focus of Return Home and other organizations like it. But I think what I was struck by, and that was kind of discovered by everyone along the way, is how much other components go into this. There's a very interesting marketing component that's involved with this, and the business of doing this. I mean, it's interesting. We want this to be a very sacred practice, but there's very economic and business components of it. Can you talk a little bit more about exploring that in this edit of the film, in the final cut of the film, and making sure that you had that balance between the emotionality of this subject, but also telling the reality of how of the logistics to make it happen?
Yeah, capitalism and death care has always been one of those things. I mean, I don't want to say always, but since the death of my mom, that was like a very transactional experience. It was like, here's your mom's ashes. Would you like to buy a keychain? Would you like to, like, they had like dinner plates with the person's face on it. They're like, maybe a dinner plate set would be the way you want to remember your mother. And it's like, and that did not resonate with me, and it felt transactional. It felt, kind of icky. And that was one of the things that stuck with me. And so when I started working with Micah, and he was talking about how this is $1 billion idea and how he's going to grow this business, and I was just like, okay, capitalism and death care, this feels weird. And I think that was one of the things that I really wanted to explore with this, is that like, this is a business that is in the most vulnerable time of a person's life. And why are we doing that to people? Like, how is this not socialized? And so yeah, that was always one of the things that I wanted to, like, I saw the care that they really wanted to bring to it, and I saw the love that they were able to bring through these new rituals that they're able to offer, but at the same time they are still a business, and they still are looking to make money off of this. But then, you meet somebody like Katie and Bree, and you're like, well, you should be paid for the time that you're like what you're doing is a valuable service, and you should be able to survive doing that. If that is your calling and that's how you're going to survive, like, you shouldn't be doing it for free. Like, and so I get really stuck in how I feel about that. But maybe if it was socialized, maybe you could have both. Maybe they could be doing this and getting paid for it, but it's getting paid through the social system. But we're not very good at social systems here in this country. So I'm very confused on the topic, because I see the benefit of these people making money when there are people like Katie and Bree specifically.
Well, I think that that's something that the documentary does really well, is showing the care that they have. And I think Micah even makes this point when people, there was someone who visited the center who had asked, do you plan on expanding to other states? And Micah responded, I mean, we'd love to, but like, how do you make a SOP for care? And I think that's I'm glad that is very forefront of his mind in this space, and why this is so different from the alternatives.
That line right there, how do you scale with standard operating procedures? How do you scale love and care? That became like our North Star in the edit. We're like, how, like, everything needs to lead up to that point, that line, even though like it goes by really quickly. For us, that was like, that is what we watched this business do. And so that was like, we just need to build up to that line right there and then come back down from there.
Well, it stood out. Yeah, it did. I think there's a point, because obviously in this documentary you're telling Micah's story along with the business's story, and it's interesting. He's very transparent about the toll that having this business took on his personal life, and it's very interesting hearing about how he had to invest so much of his own finances and so much of his own self, and always be connected. And unfortunately, with his wife, she was also very transparent about the toll that it took on their relationship. And I think that I kind of saw a parallel between that and the life of a filmmaker. Can you speak to that at all, and whether you saw kind of your own occupation in how this particular business was panning out?
Yeah, I mean, talk to my wife about that.
I'll interview her next.
Yeah, 100%. There were so many steps along this process that I would just like look at Mike and I'd be like, we're doing the same thing. You're just composting bodies and I'm figuring out whatever it is that I'm doing. And yeah, I mean, it is like every film is a business. Every film is like an entrepreneurial, like it's creative and we get to tell these stories, but it's also something that is like all consuming. And if you're not working on it, then it is dying on the vine, in my opinion. And that's a problem. Maybe that's a problem that I have. And I do see a lot of myself in Micah, in that like, this cannot fail. Like, this will succeed. And everything that I do, I need to be putting energy into that. And my wife's like, okay, I'm going to go take our kid for a walk. I'm like, okay. Sorry, no, I'll go with you also.
It's important. I mean, you have to make that space. I asked this question because I find myself in a similar situation, maybe not with filmmaking, but with content creation and editing. I find myself locked in my studio for hours on end. And, my husband has to remind me that there's a world and a life outside of that that I have to tend to.
I mean, on my way out today, like, it's like the last day of the film festival, and it's been very all-consuming, this film festival. You know, we've had screenings, and then there's events, and then there's like friends' films in town, so I want to go see their films, and then it's like, and this is work, right? Like, this is the networking and the ability to like meet people and shake hands and build relationships, and this is where it happens, and that's super exciting. But when you're trying to have a family and you're trying to have a life, and so like I was on my way out today to like, I was meeting with one of our funders for breakfast, and then we were gonna go hang out and like have a conversation with some of my producers, and I was like, I gotta go, and my wife was like, yep, you gotta work till 2 a.m. on the edit, and you gotta go meet your funders, and you gotta do this. I'm like, this is almost over, I promise. She's like, yep, this one's almost over, and then the next one will be here in a few months. I was like, yeah, I know, okay, but like, yes, but
this is so real. I mean, I'm relating with this on a very personal level as well. You know, I enjoy doing this here for SIFF and talking with filmmakers here, but I also travel to Sundance and to Toronto. And I was just talking with a friend of mine before this, where I had my husband had to submit a formal complaint about how much time I was spending at film festivals. Like, Thomas, you need to use your PTO on actual vacation. And I'm like, oh yeah, that is a thing. Yes, I should spend time. So anyway, I am on that same page.
It's real. And, I know that I'm not the only filmmaker that goes about it this way. And it's something, But I am like fully unemployed after this film festival. Like I do not have a job now, and so I'm gonna be like mowing the lawn and cleaning the house and trying to make up for all of this past 2 weeks of not being present.
Well, there you go. Cheers to that. I have to bring this to a close in a minute, but I want to just kind of see where this film goes from here. Is there where can people expect to see this next?
It was just Doc Edge was just announced, and so that's in New Zealand. I don't get to go.
Probably for the best, considering what we just talked about.
Yeah, exactly. Touche. And then we have a couple festivals that are yet unannounced in the fall that we've already been accepted to, and we are waiting to hear for even more. And we're trying to figure out distribution, and we're trying to figure out like an impact campaign and all of these things that are coming together still. But yeah, it should be out there. But if anybody's interested, we have a newsletter just on our website, thelifewelevefilm.com, and you can sign up there and follow us.
I'll be sure to link that. And it's really exciting to see something so local begin to make its way out into the world and be shown to more places on the globe. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you had sold out screenings, you had standing ovations. Just curious, what would, I don't know, like a Golden Space Needle Award mean to you?
I mean, this is like a community film. Like so much of the community has worked on this film, from local filmmakers to SIFF being a part of it, Satterberg organization being a part of it. Virtually all of our funders are from Seattle, are live here or are from here, and it has just been such a community effort. And I'm also on the board of Seattle Documentary Association, and so I've made everybody in the Seattle doc world literally figure out how do we all support each other. And this is one of those test projects, right? How can we all be involved, doing screenings at people's houses and calling the community in to watch it and give feedback. So I don't know, getting an audience award here to circle it back. Getting an audience award here is that would be the true, that would just be such a recognition of this community coming together, and that would be amazing. I get it's not going to happen.
Well, I am confident this movie is going to make an impact no matter what, and I congratulate you on completing it, having it screened here at the festival, and I am wishing you the best going forward in this film.
Thank you. Appreciate it.